Hello and welcome to the Indie Minds review of Pixel from Toronto-based developers Ratchet Game Studio. Pixel is another amalgamation of game genres combining puzzles with platforming and a shooting element. The game is a series of levels that challenge the player to make it from the start to a finish gate as quickly as possible. In order to do that, the player must guide his or her character through a three-dimensional space filled with platforms, columns, and other structures all made of cubes. Most elements of the stage can be manipulated using what is essentially a Swiss Army gun. The gun comes with a default projectile type that can cause a row or column of cubes to slide in a predetermined direction for a limited amount of time. This opens up new paths for the player to traverse the level. Over time, new abilities for the gun are acquired which can help slow columns that are already in motion or activate columns of cubes over a wider area. New uses for old abilities also open up during the course of playing Pixel. Sometimes the player must fire the basic projectile at specific cubes in order to activate moving rows, columns, or steps somewhere else on the level. Eventually, launch pads are introduced that send players hurtling through the air either to victory or doom. Although it would have been nice to see more actual puzzle involved with these mechanics, the core of the game is definitely focused on the platforming. The pacing in terms of how often players are introduced to something new is really well done here, and helps keep things feeling fresh for the 25 levels included in the initial release. Unfortunately, the promise shown in Pixel is pretty quickly undone by general bugginess. Sometimes when jumping a gap, it'd often look like I was going to successfully land, only to clip through a column or suddenly shift to the side of my intended target and plunge to my doom. There were also a number of instances where I would fire the gun at a nearby cube and it would send me bouncing off the edge of the platform, again killing me. What's most frustrating about that is that it was really inconsistent throughout the game. This makes it almost impossible to adapt to the bugs. It ends up being a guessing game whether you'll suffer a cheap death or not, and that's certainly not fun for anyone. All of these bugs are especially frustrating on the longer stages where you have to slowly scale your way upward or forward, leaping from one small platform to another. I also didn't care for the camera system in the game. A number of my fellow indie press colleagues have expressed some frustration about the gun taking up too much of the player's view. I would tend to agree with that, but I actually had some other issues as well. The first-person view just doesn't feel right for this kind of platforming. The camera seems too zoomed in on the action, and it makes moving along narrow ledges and jumping around tight corners particularly tough. And that experience is only made worse when you factor in those bugs. I don't know that pulling the view out of first person would necessarily fix the problem, as it could complicate aiming the gun, but it just doesn't quite work in its current state. I really wanted to like Pixel because it combines elements from a few genres that are right in my wheelhouse. I liked the simplistic cel-shaded graphics, and the audio seems to fit nicely. I do wish that there had been more of a puzzle aspect to the game, especially considering some of the issues with the platforming. In fact, there were a couple of levels that made me want to quit the game. So, despite the potential that is apparent in some aspects of Pixel, those bugs just can't be overlooked, and I scored the game 2 out of a possible 5 points. While it's probably too late to do anything with the camera, I could easily see the game being worthy of a 3 out of 5 with a patch to fix those bugs. If you're willing to take a chance on Pixel, it's currently available in the Xbox Live Marketplace for 80 Microsoft points. Thanks for watching our video review of Pixel from Ratchet Game Studio. For more indie news, reviews, and interviews, be sure to check out theindiemind.com.